Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hall of Fame edition of the Sideline Guys here at sidelineguys.recordernews.com. I'm Mark Robarge, along with Adam Schinder, the two guys who got just as many Hall of Fame votes as Carlos Baerga. And that, of course, will be our first topic for the day. We're taping just moments after the announcement of the two newest Hall of Famers, Burt Blyleven and Roberto Alomar. And people who may have read the blog earlier this week might have gotten my take on it. And I'm 1 for 2 so far with the Hall of Fame selections. Robbie Alomar definitely a much needed choice. I mean, he was a no-brainer to go in this time. He probably should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. And as I said in the blog, I would have pushed him as a first balloter if it hadn't been for that spitting incident when he spit on an umpire back in, I believe it was 1996.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie Alomar, I played second base in Little League growing up, and Robbie Alomar, one of my favorite players to watch. I mean, you put him and Craig Biggio, probably 1 and 1A, as the best second baseman of the 1990s. Just a tremendous all-around player. Remember, one of the best defensive middle infields of all time in Cleveland with Omar Vizquel. 300 career hitter. Almost 2,700 hits. He hit double.
430 stolen bases.
Was a tremendous defensive player. Part of some teams that won 2 World Series with Toronto. Got to 2 with Cleveland. Just a completely deserving Hall of Famer. And 90% of the vote. He got among the highest vote totals of all time.
Right. Now, the other Hall of Famer, I kind of disagree with the election. Burt Blyleven, a great pitcher during his time, don't get me wrong, but to me, the first thing I think of when I think of Blyleven is Don Sutton. Good pitcher, I don't think great pitcher. He got a lot of his stats through strictly longevity, a lot of compilation numbers, but if you look at it, Blyleven only made 2 All-Star teams in his, I believe it was a 17 or 18-year career. The best he ever did in the Cy Young voting was 3rd. To quote somebody from long ago, and I don't remember who to give credit to, this is the Hall of Great, not the Hall of Very Good. And to me, Burt Blyleven was just very good and not great.
Yeah, but when you look at the history of the Hall of Fame and the history of the baseball writers' vote, if you are very good for a very long time, eventually, and it took Burt Blyleven a very long time, you will get into the Hall of Fame. They give guys what they feel is their due. Jim Rice, a bit different, because Jim Rice was among the most feared hitters in baseball for about a 6 or 7 year stretch from the late 70s through the mid 80s. But another guy who had to wait a long time while other people passed him by. And now that we're in a bit of a lull at this point of guys eligible for the Hall of Fame, you've got guys like Alomar, who retired a few years ago and were safe bets. But after that, you have the few steroid guys, McGuire, Rafael Palmeiro, and now you're waiting until a couple of years from now when you get the classes that include the Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz from the Braves, Bonds, obviously, and Clemens, and you get some interesting debates coming along.
And that class, that 2013 class, is going to be the real interesting one because it has not only Bonds and Clemens, but also Sammy Sosa. You're looking at probably the first true steroid class. The one name that I had thought would be a Hall of Famer this time out and didn't make it, and now it looks like he's going to be one of those that's going to be waiting a little bit of a while, is Jeff Bagwell. I pushed him as a first ballot Hall of Famer. If you look at the numbers, more than 450 home runs, more than 1,500 RBIs for his career. He was consistently throughout his 17-year career considered to be, if not the best, then one of the best first basemen in not only the National League, but all of baseball. And he was the centerpiece, along with Craig Biggio, of those Astros teams for more than a decade and a half.
And you have to realize he put up those 450-plus home runs playing in a cave most of his career
Absolutely.
In the Astrodome.
Now, there was a little bit of speculation, talking to some friends of mine over the last few days, that part of the problem might have been that there were whispers late in his career about some steroid use as well. But as I argued in those discussions, I have a hard time believing that he was using steroids when you're talking to somebody whose career numbers pretty much never wavered until his very last season, even when, over the last 2 or 3 seasons, he had to stop working out because of the arthritic shoulder that ended up ending his career. So I think he may have been victimized a little bit by being lumped in with everybody else during that era, and I think that's going to be a danger with Hall of Fame voters probably for the next 10 years or so. No matter who it is, you're always going to have in the back of your mind, well, did he or didn't he, and like that.
And now we move back here locally, back to high school sports, where we've got a busy holiday. We had a busy holiday week full of tournaments and a busy Tuesday night. Just about everybody in the area in action. So time to go back and look at our top 5 high school boys basketball teams.
And we'll start at the bottom at number 5. And I'm going with Canada-Harry at number 5 because, as I say on the blog right now, we just posted a little bit ago, I take Canada-Harry over Mayfield based on potential more than anything else. Rick Palumbo's still working with his team, still molding it into a team, but with only 3 contributing seniors as opposed to a Mayfield team that I believe 9 seniors and 4 juniors. This team, this Cougar team of Rick Palumbo's has a chance to really grow throughout the season and could once again be a force come sectional time. At number 4, I've got Fonda Fultonville there. The Braves, a couple of really tough, ugly losses over the last couple of weeks, obviously starting out in Waterville and then the loss that they had in the tournament to in the Gloversville Holiday Festival to Johnstown. They really did not look good at all. You know, I say, as I say on the blog, I think this team is not as bad as they looked in either of those 2 losses. I also think they're not as good as they looked in wins over Broadalbin, Perth, and Gloversville so far this season. I think they fall somewhere in the middle. It's a team that's still trying to find its way. Once Eric Wilson gets this backcourt a little bit more experience, once he gets Will Turner to be a little more comfortable with the ball down low, I think this team has a great deal of potential. I don't know if it's going to be this season, though. Number 3. This is where I'm going to put Amsterdam. This team, I finally got a chance to see him at the Gloversville tournament last week. This is a team that has a lot of talent, but last night's loss to Albany was kind of the microcosm of their entire season. For 28 of the 32 minutes, well actually no, more like 24 of the 32 minutes, they stood toe-to-toe with Albany and took their best shot and gave it back. Over the last 4 minutes of the first quarter, the last 4 minutes of the game, though, they were outscored 42-3. And that's kind of been their problem. They've got a lot of talent, but they just disappear at times. And I think that once Joe Agresta can find a way to get them to give him 32 minutes on a night, they're going to be a team to reckon with. Number 2, Broadalbin Perth, and this is, it's really nothing that Broadalbin Perth has done to get dropped from 1 to 2 by me. Yeah, they had a tough loss to Cohoes in a non-leaguer, and Cohoes is a decent Colonial Council team and like that. But as much as I like Broadalbin Perth, Fort Plain is just growing by leaps and bounds every day. They went to Cooperstown and won that tournament, picking up a win over Cobleskill Richmondville, another larger school that they've beaten up on. And then last night in Spa Catholic, they go there, take on the Saints, who were the other undefeated team in the WAC North, came away with a 51-50 win, again, over another team from a larger classification school. They're 3-1 now this season dealing with Class B teams, which is just amazing for a Class C school.
My top 5 is going to look very similar, a slight change. Number 5, I've got Canada-Harry as well. It's a team, I will put them there based on potential. Rick Palumbo coach teams always play better back half of the season. Now I'm going to cop out a little bit with number 4 and number 3. I'm going to put a tie between Fultonville and Amsterdam because these 2 teams are both very hard to figure out. Amsterdam's they've played slightly better competition just in the fact that they're in the Big Ten, and they've already played CBA, Schenectady, Albany, and Bishop Gibbons. Those are their 4 losses. 4 pretty good teams right there. Mm-hmm. They've got the biggest problem, other than the fact that they will give up some big runs, is that team gets hurt when they face any team that has size. Amsterdam's tallest player on the court at most times, maybe 6'2", maybe 6'3". You run against the Big Ten teams that are running 3 guys out there at 6'4" or taller. They've gotten beat in the post and on the boards at times. Fonda, very much the same thing. They're just inconsistent on offensive points. When they've got Luke Nethaway as the only player who can consistently make a shot inside the arc, and they're relying so much on their three-point shooters to do something, it's just things never get consistent. That's how you get games where they'll score 19 points against Waterville, where they won't top 35, 40 points. Number 2, I've also got Broadalbin Perth. Again, it's no slight to the Patriots. They are a definite contender in Class B. It's simply the fact that they come off a loss to Cohoes, another contender in that class. And right now, I said all along, I was waiting to see Fort Plain against Spa Catholic before I moved the Hilltoppers. I was in Saratoga Springs for that game last night. I couldn't be more impressed with the way they went into a very, very raucous atmosphere. They survived every run that the Saints threw at them, and they just managed, with even making a few mistakes, turning the ball over twice, up 1 point in the last 19 seconds, they still managed to hold off Spa Catholic. So at 8-1, 4-0 in the WAC. The Hilltoppers and Craig Phillips, I'm sure, will be very happy about this. They get both of our number one spots.
They get some respect. Finally, let's wrap it up real quickly. We're going to see. We're looking at the NFL playoffs starting this weekend, so we figured we would give you our early Super Bowl picks. And I'm going to let you start off with this because even as we're getting ready to make these picks, I'm still not sure who I'm going with.
Now, in our NFL guide before the year, I picked the Green Bay Packers to win the Super Bowl. Even though they're playing my Philadelphia Eagles this weekend, I like in just completely ramshackle NFC. I think the Packers, with Aaron Rodgers playing as well as he is right now, I think the Packers can be the team that even as a 6 seed can go to Philadelphia, to Atlanta, and then possibly to Chicago or New Orleans, I would say, are the two teams I would give the best chance of getting to that NFC Championship game. I think Green Bay can get there. However, at this point, I can't see anybody beating the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that.
I think there are teams that can give them runs in the AFC, specifically Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and maybe even Kansas City. But the Patriots are the best team in the NFL right now. And until I see them show some weakness, I got to stick with the Pats.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm certain the Patriots are definitely the team to beat all the way around. My difficulty is coming up with somebody in the NFC, but if you had to hold a gun to my head, I'm going to go with New Orleans. I think the experience of getting there last year and winning it is going to pay off leaps and bounds during the playoffs. I don't see any one team that really rises above another in the NFC, so give me New Orleans.
It's a wide open playoff field that all starts this Saturday, and you can follow that and more on our blog, sidelineguys.recordernews.com. For Mark, I'm Adam. We're the Sideline Guys. We'll see you next week.